Another instance given by Professor Verrill is of a great squid found alive in shallow water in Combs Cove, Fortune Bay, in the year 1872. Its measurements, taken by the Honorable T.R. Bennett of English Harbor, Newfoundland, were as follows: length of body, 10 feet, length of tentacle, 42 feet, length of one of the ordinary arms, 6 feet. The cups on the tentacles were serrated. Professor Verrill also mentions a pair of jaws and 2 suckers in the Smithsonian Institution, received from the Reverend Iman, with a statement that they were taken from a calamari that went ashore in Bonavista Bay and measured 32 feet in total length. On the 22nd of September, 1877, another gigantic squid was stranded at Catalina, on the north shore of Trinity Bay, Newfoundland, during a heavy equinoctial gale. It was alive when first seen, but died soon after the tide ebbed and was left high and dry upon the beach. 2 fishermen took possession of it, and the entire settlement gathered to gaze in astonishment at the monster. Formerly, it would have been converted into manure or cut up as dog food, but thanks to the spread of knowledge, some individuals in Catalina recognized its rarity and advised the fishermen to take it to St. John's. After being exhibited there for 2 days, it was packed in half a ton of ice in preparation for shipment to Professor Verrill, in hopes it would be placed in the Peabody or Smithsonian Museum. However, at the last moment, its owners violated their agreement and sold it to a higher bidder. The final purchase was made for the New York Aquarium, where it arrived on October 7th, immersed in methylated spirit in a large glass tank. Its measurements were: length of body, 10 feet, length of tentacles, 30 feet, length of shorter arm, 11 feet, circumference of body, 7 feet, breadth of caudal fin, 2 feet 9 inches, diameter of largest tentacular sucker, 1 inch, and number of suckers on each of the shorter arms, 250. The appearance of so many of these great squids on the shores of Newfoundland over a span of 7 years, following a long period of popular uncertainty regarding their very existence, might lead one to suppose that the waters of the North Atlantic Ocean, particularly those washing the northeastern coasts of the American continent, were, at least temporarily, their principal habitat. This theory gains support from the presence of a smaller member of their family, Omistrephs sagittatus, which is found in such extraordinary numbers in the same region that it constitutes the bulk of bait used in the Newfoundland cod fisheries. However, that these creatures are by no means confined to this locality is proven by both recent and previously cited instances. Dr. F. Hilgendorf recorded the exhibition of a huge squid for money at Yedo, Japan, in 1873 and observed another of similar size being sold in the Yedo fish market. When the French expedition visited the island of St. Paul in 1874 to observe the transit of Venus on December 9th, it was fortunately accompanied by a capable zoologist, M. Sage Falang. He reported that on November 2nd, a tidal wave cast a large calamari upon the north shore of the island, measuring nearly 23 feet in total length, 7 feet for the body and 16 feet for the tentacles. There are several points of interest concerning its generic characteristics, and M. Verlaine provided reasons for classifying it as a previously unknown species, although these details are too technical to explore here. The specimen was photographed as it lay on the beach by M. Kazan, the expedition's photographer. A more recent account of a large squid's capture off the west coast of Ireland was published in The Zoologist, June 1875, by Sergeant Thomas O'Connor of the Royal Irish Constabulary. On April 26, 1875, a very large calamari was encountered northwest of Baffin Island, Connemara. The crew of a curragh, a boat similar to a coracle, with wooden ribs covered in tarred canvas, noticed a large floating mass surrounded by gulls. Thinking it to be wreckage, they rowed toward it, but found an enormous cuttlefish lying perfectly still on the water's surface, seemingly basking. Approaching cautiously, they lopped off one of its arms. The creature immediately sped away at an incredible pace. The men gave chase and, after a strenuous pursuit in their fragile craft, caught up with it 5 miles out into the Atlantic. They severed another arm and the head. These parts are now housed in the Dublin Museum. The shorter arms each measured 8 feet in length and 15 inches in circumference at the base. The tentacular arms were reportedly 30 feet long. The body sank. Finally, in our national collection, preserved in spirit within a tall glass jar, is a single arm of a colossal cephalopod. I was permitted, through the kindness of the department's officers, to examine and measure it when I first described it in May 1873. The arm is 9 feet long and 12 inches in circumference at the base, gradually tapering to a fine point. It bears about 300 pedunculated suckers, set on tubular stalks in 2 alternating rows, each with serrated, horny rings but no hooks. The largest of these rings is half an inch in diameter. The smallest is no larger than a pinhead. This is one of the 8 shorter, pedal, arms, not one of the longer, tentacular, ones. The ratio of arm length to body and tentacle length varies among genera of the Teuthidae and may even vary within the same species. Judging by known examples, I estimate the tentacles would have been 36 feet long and the body between 10 and 11 feet, giving a total length of 47 feet. The beak was likely around 5 inches long from hinge to tip, and the largest tentacular suckers about 1 inch in diameter. So much for de Montfort's suckers as big as saucepan lids. Owing to a well-defined fold of skin extending from each margin of the arm's sucker-bearing surface, Professor Owen gave this calamari the generic name Plectoteuthis, with the specific name grandis, denoting its immense size. No history of this specimen has been preserved. Its origin and arrival date are unknown, but Dr. Gray believed it came from the east coast of South America. It has long been part of the British Museum's collection. Though once on public display, it was for many years kept in the basement chambers of the old Bloomsbury building, irreverently known to insiders as the Spirit Vaults and Bottle Department, where specimens preserved in spirits, such as fish and mollusks, were stored. I hope the public will now have better access to it in the new museum. Here, then, in our midst, and visible to all who request permission to see it, lies a limb of a great cephalopod capable of capsizing a boat, hauling a man from it, or seizing someone scraping a ship's hull and dragging him underwater, as described by the old mariner Magnus Dens. The tough, flexible tentacles, shot forth with lightning speed, would be long enough to reach a man from a dozen yards away and strong enough to draw him into the grasp of the 8 shorter arms, a helpless victim to a beak capable of tearing flesh and breaking smaller bones. Once ensnared in such an embrace, escape would be impossible without assistance. The clinging strength of this Plectoteuthis is further enhanced by the expanded folds of skin beneath the arms. I doubt even a small whale, such as a white whale or a pilot whale, could free itself if those 8 sticky, clammy, 9-foot-long arms, each 5 inches thick and lined with 2,400 suckers, were fully wrapped around it. Should it surprise us, then, that uneducated seafarers, like those from Fredrikstad mentioned by Pontoppidan, completely unaware of the creature's habits, affinities, or even its true form, would exaggerate its size and shroud it in mystery? All they knew was that while their friends, let us call them Erik Paulsen, Hans Olsen, and Olaf Brun, were out fishing on a calm day, a shapeless something rose just above the placid sea near their boat. They could tell that more of it remained submerged, but how much, they could not guess. Sensing danger, they began to raise the anchor. Suddenly, from 30 feet away, a rope-like arm shot aboard and ensnared Hans, dragging him toward the strange mass. A disturbance followed. Serpentine limbs rose from the foaming sea, coiling around Hans. Erik and Olaf, frozen in horror, watched helplessly as the creature sank, the swirling waters closing forever over their companion. The men, shocked and frightened, returned home and shared the dreadful tale. As word spread, the story grew, and within a week, the legend of the Kraken had been born. The existence of calamaris capable of such feats in almost every sea is now well established. This once debated topic of marine zoology has finally been laid to rest. The much greater light on this subject, which Pontoppidan wisely predicted would be reserved for posterity, has indeed been cast by recent discoveries. The further experience, which he rightly foresaw future writers would possess, has arrived. With this new knowledge, and viewed in the clearer light of science, the legendary sea monster, once shrouded in myth and imagined on a colossal scale, now appears in its true proportions. Its mystery dispelled, its form clarified, We recognize in it the real, magnificent creature that once inspired terror and awe.